start sharing. Here we go. Thank you, Ileana. And slideshow. Here we go. The green fern background for sunshine and the coming of spring, hopefully soon. Yay. All right, I'm going to put up the chat here. I can see it. Oh, Minnie, you just made hearts go. Sounds good, Willow. As long as you can hear us and you can chat with us, that's great. All right, here we go. We'll get started. It's recorded, so anybody who misses it or comes in late can catch up on the clallamresilienceproject.org website. So welcome, everybody. We are talking about mindset today. And I love this quote from William Shakespeare, that there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And there's so much power in our thinking. And that comes from Hamlet, which I think is pretty cool. All right, so as usual, today is 12 to 12:45. We're going to do appreciations and introductions. We're going to have land acknowledgement, and we're going to do, again, the overview of stress in our nervous system, because maybe there's people here who haven't joined us before. We'll talk about mindset and stress, how those two go together, and then I tried to pull out some practices specifically for working with our minds. And because a lot of this information is out, and I know a lot of organizations have some of this, you might know some or all of this information. And I invite you to hear it anyway, see what lands for you, be curious and be open. Hopefully there'll be some tidbit, at least today, that's helpful. Welcome to the new people joining us. Okay, so I have a lot of appreciation. I want to acknowledge and appreciate the Lower Elwha Clallam Tribe and Ileana Jones from the Sexual Assault Response Team. They are hosting this work, and they are helping the Clallam Resilience Project spread this information, bring this information throughout the Olympic Peninsula. So Ileana, would you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm here from the Lower Elwha. We're having an event today, a fairness event. So if there's a little bit of noise, that's the one. I've been working with Clallam Resilience for about 5 years, and I'm very, very proud to assist with it. And I have been doing this work for about 10 years. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming.
Yay, thank you. And I really appreciate Clallam Resilience Project for sponsoring this workshop series. I'm Rachel Hardees. I'm a licensed mental health counselor in our community. And I'm new to a full-time position at the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Olympic Peninsula. So I'm very excited about that. And let's see, and thank you. I knew there was one more, it's right there. Thank you for attending and participating in this workshop series and being a part of our goal to spread information and common language throughout the peninsula. So yay, so grateful. Please join me in expressing deep respect and gratitude for our Indigenous neighbors and leaders, the Lower Elwha Clallam, the Quileute, the Hoh, the Makah, and the Jamestown S'Klallam tribes for their enduring care and protection of our shared lands and waterways. Thank you. Okay, so we can know who is here. Please type into the chat your name and how you would like to identify yourself, with where you work, what you're part of, where you volunteer, and you're also welcome to say you're a caring community member. Excuse me. I'd love to know who's here, and I don't have all the pictures so that I can see the slides. Okay, we have Pat at the Fort Community Food Bank. Excellent. And yeah, we have Minnie from Clallam Resilience. Yay. Excellent. Becky, hi, DCYF. Melanie, Mental College Family Life. Great. Ashley, hi. Candy from OESD, welcome. Yay. Oh, excellent. LICSW from Known. Perfect. Ann Higdon. Hi, Ann. Familiar faces and names. Yay. And Bonnie. Yay. And excellent. Very involved. Welcome, welcome. Oh, Willow Nami. Awesome. Oh, great. That'll be a very great, great resource in our community. Fantastic. Kelsey, welcome. Jessica with Lower Elwha, excellent. Presenting, and just a reminder that this is recorded and it will be up on the Clallam Resilience Project webpage for anybody who missed it, or if you want to go back. So, well, welcome everybody. Okay, well, while you're there at your keyboards ready to chat, oh my God, stress. So chat in or unmute and share, please. What is stressing you out? Public speaking. I had a lot of nerves. They're a little bit less now. Uncertainty is a really big one, as a possibility. The unknown, the weather, yada. Paying bills can sometimes be stressful, or going to the mailbox and you got the bills in there. So let's share. What is stressing you out? Family relations. Oh my goodness. Yes. Yep. That's a big one. Oh my gosh, yep. Kids being sick, oh, for sure. Stress of decision making, yes. The political climate, all the time. Oh, Willow, that's tiring. Yeah, Bonnie, healthcare, and oh my gosh, yeah, being a case manager on C, absolutely. And money, yep, all those things. Right? And note it and remember that what stresses each of us out might not stress other people out. We all have different stresses because we have different experiences and different lives. And worry about students, Annie, yeah. Oh, and Jessica, sounds like a new diagnosis and a new situation to adjust to and understand. Yeah, Candy, uncertainty, definitely. That's one of the things that's one of the 4 threats when we talk in synergetic play therapy, when we talk about threats. Uncertainty, the unknown, and more the stories we put on the unknown, the possibilities are what stresses us out. Yeah, the state of our country. Yep, lots. That's right. So, and with that, Jessica, there's a lot of uncertainty. So we have a lot of opportunities to have our minds tell us things that then create that energy in our body. Federal funding shutdown, right? March 14th. My significant other works for Olympic National Park. They are, oh my gosh, they are like stressed out of their minds up there because of the uncertainty. The federal funding is shut down. It's possibly coming. Yep, lots of uncertainty. Yes, and with that, the future of our nonprofits, right? The stress of funding, that's always a challenging situation anyway. And now I think there's added worry on that. Okay, so everybody, check in with your system. This goes back to the first workshop, in your body and the sensations. So check in, stand up, maybe move a bit, maybe stretch a little bit, take some breath, because that was a long list of stressors and I could definitely feel it in my body. So again, we're going to review stress and our nervous system because I really believe this is our basis for understanding just about everything about us. Okay, so generally, right, that list, nobody put in anything that was positive, nothing that we would label as, okay, that's a good thing. But we do have some stress, some things are positive that stress us out, like getting married, starting a new job, buying a house, things like that. They're also stressors. And so when we think about stress, though, it's usually a bad thing and we want to avoid it. And the definition is that it's a state of bodily, and I would say probably and mental, if we connect them both, tension that results from things that tend to kind of knock us off our equilibrium. And with this image, Dr. Bruce Perry and his neurosequential network shows or kind of delineate 2 types of stress. So one side being unpredictable, severe, or prolonged, that leads us to vulnerability physically and mentally. Predictable, moderate, controlled stress leads to resilience. So severe and prolonged stress is exhausting to our brains. And it causes this thinking part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, to become less engaged, which makes it more difficult for us to think, and it puts our focus on surviving. And I was thinking about this last night. At one point, I was taught that the prefrontal cortex is about the size of a Twinkie right behind our forehead. And I don't know. So I envision whenever I talk about it, I think about a Twinkie in my forehead. When we're in this prolonged stress, it makes it harder for us to problem solve. We end up with decision fatigue. Like just one more thing to make a decision about. Little things can be challenging. We lose track of time. We often forget to do our to-do list. We're much quicker to frustrate. Our window of tolerance for difficulty and challenge shrinks. And also, though, in controlled doses, in being able to work with our stress leads us to being more resilient, and it helps us survive. The same idea is like lifting weights makes our muscles stronger, and lifting creates micro tears in our muscles that then when they rebuild, they come back stronger. Stress is doing that same thing for our window of tolerance, for our ability to navigate our nervous system, because we can't get rid of stress. The part of stress is part of our survival response that helps us survive. So stress is telling us that there's something in our environment that we're perceiving as a threat. So I invite you to please find ways to practice being with and moving the energy of stress in your system, as opposed to pressuring yourself that maybe you shouldn't feel stressed, or that if you only tried harder or made certain changes, you wouldn't feel stressed. That's really a fantasy. We're always going to feel stress. Even like this, I love doing presentations like this, and I voluntarily choose to do them, and they still create stress for me. And so it's a matter of working that energy, and finding ways to respond to stress so that it doesn't stay. And then we know that the ripple effects of stress kind of go from us to maybe a family member or a coworker, and then out into the community. It can be contagious. So that's why this is important too. Okay, so if you've attended the past two, you've seen this one. However, this time I made a change. And perception and judgment is also orange. So this is like working with our nervous system activation. So we generally will have an experience, and then we will tell ourselves something about it. We will have a thought about it, and then we're going to activate the energy. We notice that energy. If we notice the energy, then we're going to name it. We're going to question it, question our thoughts. So I made that change too, because we're talking about thoughts. We're going to question our thoughts. And we might need to see if we need to do some movement. And we're going to do this over and over and over again. Right? And if we have this activation of stress energy and we don't notice it, we can create a practice to make sure we pause to notice it. And we do that, then we can name it, name our thoughts, we can question our thoughts, we can breathe, move, fidget, and repeat that. If we don't have a practice to pause and notice the energy and notice our thoughts, we're going to end up with chronic stress. It's going to build up, and that's where we see mental and physical health issues. So an example is like maybe an experience is I see a friend at the grocery store and they don't say hi. And then later, so that's the experience, and I might have a response in that moment in my system. But then later, I'm going to keep ruminating on that. I might keep having thoughts around, oh my gosh, is my friend mad at me? Or, oh my gosh, she was so rude. And all of that is going to keep my nervous system activated. And so that's thinking. And that's what we're talking about today. And then we have the states of our autonomic nervous system, as well as there's hybrid states. And I like this image. So we have mobilized, which is generally where we see our initial response to stress. This is the fight or flight. This is the activation of the energy. This is aggression. This is the heart racing, our lungs maybe, or our chest getting kind of tight. We have immobilized, which is another aspect of the autonomic nervous system. And this is where it might be just too much. I'm checking out. I'm numbing out. I'm going to just lay on the couch and watch TV or doom scroll or something like that. I might not have a lot of expression on my face, right? So this is the opposite. We have a shutdown of the energy. And then ideally, what we all generally want to get to and what we like most of the time is being in a relaxed state. And this is where it feels good. And then you can see there's an overlap where we need these together for play, or we need these together to rest and digest. So it's not, none of this is to say your goal should be to be in the relaxed state, because that's not possible. I would love for your goal to be able to be in any state and be able to be connected to yourself and experience that state. And so we move through these, we need to move through these. They are important for us. Let's see. So I'm going to pause before we jump into mindset. Are there any questions about the nervous system or activation? You can chat them in, you can unmute and chat. Either way is great. Let's see if I can see some of you. There we go. Okay. Well, if there's no thoughts, I'm going to keep going. Now we're going to jump into mindset. So, I like definitions. I think it helps us come from a common place because we might have different ideas or definitions for things. And of course, there are different definitions depending on what you read. So Merriam-Webster defines mindset as a mental attitude or inclination. They also call it a fixed state of mind. Now, we're going to talk about Carol Dweck after this, so because it's not necessarily a fixed state of mind. Cambridge Dictionary talks about it as a person's way of thinking and their opinions. And so what I found was this tended to make this a fairly broad topic. And so because it's limited time, I've tried to pare it down to just a few ideas. So Carol Dweck, her book came out some years ago and was quite popular. And she was the one who introduced the idea of two mindsets. Right? We have a fixed mindset, and we have a growth mindset. And she found this out by studying elementary school students and noticing how they were responding to different challenges in school. And so this is a part of kind of how we talk to ourselves as well as how we talk out loud. And it's, I like this, the view that we adopt for ourselves profoundly affects the way we lead our lives. And it's important, again, we can have this fantasy that I should have a growth mindset everywhere all the time. And maybe that's a great goal to work towards. But you'll probably tend to find that you have fixed mindset in some areas and a growth mindset in others. Like just for example, I was chatting with someone the other night and I know they like to learn and grow in, let's say the field like economics. That's something that interests them. But if you talk to them about singing, they're going to be like, oh, I can't sing. So that's more of a fixed mindset as opposed to a growth mindset. Let's see. Okay. So the fixed mindset is that idea that you believe your abilities and traits are fixed. Oh, great. Thank you, Minnie. And therefore they can't be changed. And this is why I think we've tried to change some of our language from complimenting kids for being so smart to complimenting them more on effort, because smart can be taken in as a fixed trait. I'm either smart or I'm not smart. And if I'm smart, it means I don't fail, I don't miss questions on a test or something, as opposed to if I have effort, that creates more space. So fixed mindset is that our traits are fixed. We can't change it. We might believe that our talent and intelligence alone leads to success and that maybe effort's not required. We see this a lot with highly capable kids because school tends to come really easy for them. And then when it starts to become challenging, it's a challenge for them because they don't know how to respond to that. They haven't had that experience. And so growth is that our brains and talent are just our starting point. We have this belief that our basic qualities are things that we can cultivate through our efforts, through our strategies, and through help from others. And it creates a growth mindset can help us really have a passion for stretching ourselves and really responding to it by embracing a challenge and sticking to it, even if something's not going very well. And this is a mindset that can help us thrive during challenging times. And so what they found were students who understood this, or maybe were taught this, because we can teach this, they weren't discouraged by failure, and they didn't even think they were failing. They redefined it as learning. And so I think that's really important to embrace that learning. So then Carol Dweck talks about this practice of yet, the power of yet. And I remember my son, he must have learned this in school because I remember him using this language for a while. And so it is something like, well, I'm not able to play the guitar. Like, because someone would say, could you play the guitar? I'd be like, no, I can't play the guitar. But if I'm interested in it and I recognize that it's through practice, it's a skill I can have, I can gain, I could say I'm not able to play the guitar yet. There's space in that. There's space for growth, there's space for change. Or it can be like if I'm going into something and I'm not sure what my expectations are, I can just say I don't know what they are yet. I'm thinking about it. When we learn new things, we're creating new connections in our brain, and we're creating leading to new ways of thinking, and that can feel uncomfortable, especially when we start to see maybe where we have a fixed mindset or where we put a fixed mindset on other people. So I'm going to pause there if anybody wants to unmute, but this is practice number 1 for working with our mindset and our thoughts. Use yet. It creates a little bit of space. There was a school that instead of giving F's to students, gave them a not yet. I just love that. I think that is so cool. That's such a neat. So, here's one. Okay, so when we get to the end where we talk about how to put this into place in a bigger, in an agency or within an employer, that might be something is on staff reviews to use not yet for places instead of some of the common language we use. Okay. Right, Minnie, you're not sure how to manage all of Zoom tech yet, right? And they keep changing it. Yes, yet, but you can do it. Exactly. Okay, so mindset, I think, connects in with thoughts. And I guess this is to say, like, our mindset, if we have a fixed mindset, we're going to create stress in our system because in the example of we're either smart or we're not smart. If we think we should be smart, but we're not being smart, that's going to create stress. And so the way we think, the way we talk to ourselves, and kind of broadening it beyond mindset, impacts our stress response. So thoughts, dictionary.com defines it as an idea or opinion produced by thinking or occurring suddenly in the mind. I love that one because sometimes I break my brain trying to think about where do these weird random things that I'm not even thinking about kind of pop in. And I honestly have started thinking of them as the Star Trek pods when they beam them up from wherever they are and they just appear. That's how I think of what happens with thoughts sometimes. So thoughts includes assumptions, right? That a thing that we accept as true or as certain to happen without any proof. Includes beliefs, which is an acceptance that a statement is true or that something exists. Or oftentimes beliefs are how we think things should be. Interpretations and judgments, an explanation or establishment of the meaning or significance of something. So in that example, my friend doesn't say hi in the grocery store. I could choose to think, well, maybe they didn't see me, or I can choose to interpret it as they're mad at me. And them being mad at me is going to activate my nervous system. Perceptions is a way of regarding, understanding, or interpreting something, kind of our mental impression. And language I really use a lot is story we tell ourselves, or the story I'm telling myself, as a recognition of, I really don't know what's going on, but I know this is where my mind is going with it. And our minds are going to make different assumptions, beliefs, interpretations, judgments, and perceptions based on our past experiences. So we're all going to have different, like if we all saw the same situation, we're all going to have different interpretations of it. And this is why, oh my gosh, what's the word when you see a crime? Anyway, that's why they're not valid, because we all see it differently. The other thing to think about with thoughts is that generally it's believed that we say 10,000 words a day to ourselves in our minds. I don't know how they came up with that number. I've seen it repeated often. And so something to think about is, what are we saying to ourselves? Because what we're saying to ourselves is going to impact our nervous system. So coming into today's presentation, I wasn't feeling as prepared as I like to feel. And so I know that was in my mind, and I was feeling a little more stressed about it. And to notice, like, sometimes what we think about helps us feel good. I don't know how often we daydream in that way. And most of the time, what I've seen in mental health counseling is that people are going towards a very negative view of themselves or the world or the situation. And then that's creating stress. So this is why our thoughts are important. They create our reality, right? They interpret our reality, maybe is a better way to say it. They impact our moods, because if I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be awful at this. Okay, bye, Willow. Thanks. We can catch up later. If I let it impact, if I have a thought and it makes me grumpy, now I'm going to be grumpy because I'm having a thought. If I don't question that thought, it can drive behaviors. It can influence how we treat people. So if I am having a thought, like if I'm interacting with my son and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's being so ungrateful and he's being so rude, I'm generally not going to be nice to him when he's talking to me because I'm going to be activated. Right? And so it does impact our nervous system. It revs us up and it shuts us down. Let's see. And rarely do we pause to think we might be wrong. Our thoughts are very convincing, and we can get ourselves caught in our own hall of mirrors, which is why, like with this presentation, I've been grateful for Ileana and Minnie's support, because I can get caught in my own head, and I like to be able to say, okay, what do you think? What do you see? What could I add, or what could be different? And so pausing to question, could I even be wrong? So practice number 2, be curious. Ask yourself, what is my belief about this situation? Right? What is my belief making happen inside my body? And what is my belief about myself? What assumptions am I making? Excuse me. What are my expectations? What do I think should be happening here? Shoulds are also one of the four situations that cause stress on our nervous system, that they activate our nervous system. Usually because if something should be happening or shouldn't be happening, it's not happening. And rather than figuring out how to deal with what is, we're wishing it were some different way, or we're wishing we were some different way, when if we should have done something, we usually can't go back and change that, but we can change it going forward. So noticing where you're putting shoulds on yourself also. So practicing curiosity. Who are you? What are your thoughts? What do you believe? So finding a way you can journal those, you can pause and think about it. It really gets interconnected with our body. Sometimes I'll have a thought and I know my body responds. Sometimes I'll notice my body's kind of tight and I'll check in with, well, what am I thinking? What's going on in my world? So practice being curious. This is another one. So Byron Katie wrote a book. It's in the resources list. That one's right here too. Loving What Is. And she has 4 questions that she's gone through, and she credits them with saving her life. And I've pulled this. This is the one that has stuck with me, is to pause and in a situation ask, is it true? Is it really true? And really looking for examples where what you thought didn't happen. And it's really kind of like proving yourself wrong. And if I can prove myself wrong, if I've said something like, oh my God, that person is always so rude, well, I'm not going to treat them nicely, or I'm going to go in a defensive place. And if I can pause and find like one place where they weren't rude, I can loosen up my thinking and realize that my statement isn't really true. So it's about reality testing our thoughts. It's about checking in. Is this thought helping me? Is it helping the situation, or is it hurting me or hurting the situation? I'm going to pause. Does anybody want to share thoughts about thoughts? I had a hard time coming up with chat-in questions as I went through this. So Minnie, if you or Ileana have any idea that might help people share or pop on and say something, that would be great. Or maybe are there common situations people notice where that they know are challenging for them?
I think one of the things, go
ahead,
Candy.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah,
No, please. Oh, well, I was just going to say that I don't really have any questions, but I would just like to affirm you that this is all very helpful and this is the exact message that I needed today. And I have
Oh,
taken 4 pages of notes already. So
oh my
thank
gosh.
you.
Oh, I'm
Very
so
happy
glad
to
you're
be here.
here. Thank you. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, I think about like if there's somebody who potentially is coming as a client or somebody who I'm meeting with, and I've been in that situation before, thinking about what's the story that I've already told myself about this situation or this person, where it might be just based on my experience in the past. And so that really rings true to me of like, do I really have that curiosity about that interaction that I'm about to have?
Yeah, so powerful. Thank you. And I see Jessica says she tries to catch herself when she says always. Yeah, exactly. Always is, so it's kind of like finding these words that remind you to pause. And always is a really good one because it's not true. They label always as a cognitive distortion, they being psychology. Assumptions, yes, Ileana, are very detrimental. Uh-huh. Oh, Bonnie, yeah, the impact of the weather, yeah, on mindset, mood, energy, yeah, really important to notice. And then see if you can find ways that can help you with that, help you think differently about that. Maybe there's something beautiful in the winter or gray weather. Or I know my mom, she moved to Washington a few years before I did, and we moved from Colorado where there's a lot of sun. And she would remind herself that even on gray days, she could still see a hint of a shadow. And so that was how she helped herself know, like, the sun is still there. Yeah, but definitely an impact. Annie, yeah, giving yourself grace. Yeah, not to overthink things. And our minds like to do that, especially if it's a problem. We like to mull it over. Annie likes to brainstorm ideas, yeah, to support family and well being. Yeah, that are attainable. That's very important. And do those things. It feels good. Absolutely. Cold sports are fun. Yeah. Totally. So it's cold water plunges. Excellent. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Let's continue here. So another practice is space from our thoughts. And so okay, this idea of like framing it as, well, things my mind is telling me, because sometimes stuff just arises. This is another one I like, is I'm having the thought that, or I'm thinking that, or I'm telling myself the story. And so an example is, well, I'm thinking I can't pass this test, as opposed to I can't pass this test. Now I invite you, so those feel different in my body when I read them. And so I invite you to check in and either say out loud or say in your head, right? I am thinking that I can't pass this test. Pause, check in, and now say, I can't pass this test. And notice if there's a difference. I know for me, when I say the first one, there's space. That's for me, that's how I describe it. Or if I take a should and I use could instead, it creates space. So giving ourselves space from our thoughts, right? They're very convincing, but they're not necessarily real. A friend of mine has a bumper sticker on his car that says something like, don't believe everything your mind tells you. And I think it's good to practice just questioning ourselves. So then our practice, another practice is sphere of influence. Like there's a lot of things that we worry about, myself included. I am not exempt from any of this, I'm going to tell you that. There's a lot of things that we worry about that we can't control. We can't do things about. So we have a circle of control, and that is the things that we can directly control or impact through our thoughts, our words, and our actions. Then we have influence, and that is something that we can kind of do something about. We don't necessarily have control over the outcome, but we might be able to influence it. Like, when your kids become teenagers. I have an 18-year-old and he's away at college, and the only thing I have is influence. I think I still have that. That's rapidly decreasing, I think. And then we can then the circle of concern are things that we can be concerned about that we might not have control over the outcome. And so finding ways that we can take action that can help us either ripple out to others and help influence things maybe in the direction we want, recognizing that we don't have direct control. And so letting our minds ruminate and get stuck, and letting these, we talked about attention last time, letting these things that we don't control take over our attention, can lead to can stress us out, and we can't do much about it. So paying attention to kind of practicing asking yourself, is this something I can control? And as hard as it can be, we can control our thoughts. At the very least, we can let ourselves or not let ourselves get pulled away by thoughts that might arise. And it's all practice. It all takes so much practice. And so this is where, this is a lot of part of where we're building to kind of build this collective community efficacy within Clallam Resilience, where as individuals, we might think our impact is small, or we might feel like really ineffective on the outcome, and that if we know that many people are rowing in the same direction, so many people are working to implement more trauma-informed practices in their agencies, with their clients, in their businesses, and we have this shared language, we have a shared understanding, and we can be involved in these communities, learning together and discussing and trying to figure out what are practical tools we can all use together that can help us know that we're having an impact. As well as if I'm grumpy and I interact with my son grumpily, then he's going to be grumpy, and let's say he's still at home, then he's going to go to school and he's going to be grumpy, and that's going to ripple out around him. But if I've worked with my stress and I'm in an okay place and I interact with him and it goes well and he leaves feeling good, then he's going to feel good in the world. So there are ripples of impact that we don't even know. And that's why, so we're offering these workshops, we're sharing them, we're involving people to help make individual and collective progress over having healing-centered responses. Minnie, is there anything you want to add to that? I know watching our time, we're almost done.
I thought you said it really well, Rachel. I think that I was just writing out that, I see all these different entities here. And it's just really exciting, right? That you are creating this ripple of language that spread to all the people here, who might spread it to the people who they live with, or the people who they work with, or the people who they're friends with, through behavior, and then also through, maybe even sharing the video. So
yeah.
It's really exciting that it goes around the sectors, around the community. So thank you all for coming.
Yes. Excellent. Thank you. All right. So then this was where I would love some input, because I got a little stumped on, okay, how to bring individual mindset into the workplace. Thanks, Annie. And so we can start as noticing our own language. We can notice the language of others, maybe creating a community of support within your workplace to help each other, remind each other to have a growth mindset or practice that. Modeling a growth mindset to those around you. That is, I think we easily dismiss, at least from what I hear in conversations, kind of dismiss how powerful modeling is. And so model the growth mindset to those around you. Use yet, use could instead of should. Say out loud, and I practice this. I will say to somebody, well, the story that I am telling myself about this situation is, and just that helps me, and I hope it's modeling and helping them. So supporting each other and using yet, celebrating mistakes as learning opportunities, and practicing language that creates space, right? I'm having the thought that, or I'm telling the story. But I'd love to hear either how your workplaces are doing this, and yeah, if you have any other ideas. And we have 5 minutes, 6 minutes left. Bringing positivity. Yeah, thank you, Ileana. Yeah. Well, I invite you to ponder this. This, like I said, this was what I came up with. Kitty. And I think there's a lot of ways. And like we were just talking about, that sphere of influence and the sphere of control. And so practicing that. Okay, are there any other questions or any other thoughts? Okay, so this is where we want to know, how are you doing now? How are we doing? And Ileana is going to put up a poll. Here's the columnresilience@gmail.com to chat or email with any other questions or ideas.
Can everybody see the poll? Okay.
So the time went fast. And the poll really helps guide us and helps gives us really important information. Ooh, what is that, Ileana, in the chat? Annie, yeah, try to set a positive example. Absolutely.
What
There
I
we go.
posted on the chat was the poll. It gives you the option of being able to.
Oh, oh, fancy. Very cool. All right, now we have results coming in. Thank you, everybody. That, like I said, really important to participate in the poll. It helps us out a lot. Things like, all right. Any more? Okay. So then coming up in March, there are going to be 3 Tuesdays in a row from 4 to 5 p.m. We have Growing Seeds of Hope. And so I'm going to leave that up. You can pull the information off of there. There's a QR code. You can always go to columnresilienceproject.org or email columnresilience@gmail. This is put on by Column Resilience Project, College Success Foundation, and the Port Angeles School District. Growing Seeds of Hope, really exploring the science of hope. Leave that up for a moment. And I believe, Minnie, is this or will this be on the Resilience Project webpage shortly?
It will. And what I've been trying to do is put people back into the newsletter so that they can see that in the newsletter too. It's for people maybe who have had introduction to the science of hope, seen a webinar, read Dr. Hellman's book, or participated in the Resilience Month last year, where they heard about the science of hope and then are saying, okay, well, what does it mean around goals and pathways and agency, and how can I really understand that or bring that forward? So we're trying to, again, sort of spread some of this shared language and common understanding around the peninsula so people can enact it to help well-being, because that's the ultimate goal of hope, is to have individual, organizational, and community well-being.
Excellent. Very exciting. Thank you. And Clown Resilience Project is looking for involvement for October, because October is Resilience Month. So if anybody's interested in supporting that or helping out, again, contact Minnie at the Clown Resilience Project at gmail.org. .org. Okay. And here are the resources for today. Yeah, so if any of those look interesting, some of it's the same. Let's see, outside, enjoying the wonder of the natural world. Yes, Kelsey. There we go. Thank you, Minnie. Minnie just put it into the chat. Oh my gosh, 3 bald eagles, Kelsey. That's super cool. Oopsie. So thank you. Thank you, everybody. And remember to visit columnresilienceproject.org to keep up to date on what's going on. We so appreciate you all taking the time to be here. Yay. There we go. Okay, let's see.
That was a lot of information. That was great.
Thank you.